Hey everyone, I'm Eric. This is my wife Julie. We are the Blended Life.
And today we're talking about honoring relationships in your life. And it's not just your marriage. Enjoy.
Hello there and welcome back. So,
Honoring your relationships.
I didn't even know
Well, remember how I told you, but we were going to talk about this earlier?
Yeah.
So I can't wait to hear all the genius that you've come up with.
I have been stewing on this for months now.
Months?
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to first talk about honoring your relationships in your blended family goes beyond your marriage, right? I think we think about the relationship that we're going to honor in our family, and it is our marriage. That should be the first relationship you're honoring.
Well, that should be the most obvious relationship you're honoring.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, we are in a lot of relationships. Now, hopefully not all romantic, but we are in relation with just about everyone we know. I mean, it's a relationship one way or another. So coming up with ways to honor each and every one of those, there might be a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of differences too.
Right. And I think we can't ignore honoring our co-parenting relationship. This is going to be the one relationship where people who have a very difficult co-parenting relationship is like screaming at me like, no, they don't deserve it.
On the chalkboard.
Yeah. How can I honor them when they do not honor me? And it's a very tit-tat thing, right?
And what I have to say about that is when people don't want to honor someone because they're not being honored, well, that's just breaking that cycle. Let's start a new cycle of creating honor and forgiveness and grace and figuring out what a healthy relationship looks like.
Even as your co-parent.
Well, with a co-parent, but with someone that you don't necessarily want to hang out with or talk to often or be around or necessarily even deal with. There's still a way of honoring that without having to do all of those things. You know?
Honor doesn't mean that we're breaking bread and, like you said, hanging out.
Yeah, we're
and
BFF.
That we're best friends.
Follow each other on social media.
That's right. And I like how you said, people have a hard time honoring someone who doesn't honor me. Like I have a hard time when I'm being dishonored, when I'm being talked about and gossiped about and lied about. How am I supposed to honor that? So there's that. But then also, I know a lot of people just don't think that their co-parent is deserving of being honored.
Yeah, for
just
sure.
For the human being that they are.
And that sword cuts with both edges. I mean, I'm sure they feel the same way also that you feel. And there's probably legitimate reasons why you feel that way.
You would be
and
married.
Why we feel that way, Right.
Yeah. I think that we need to normalize both feelings, that you probably aren't motivated or inspired to honor your ex and that relationship because they've wronged you, they've hurt you, they're a bad human in your eyes, or they just don't honor you. And that is the temptation, right? Is that I don't want to, and my reasons are valid why I don't want to. However, we're going to talk in a minute about why it's important to honor relationships, but I want to point out that this podcast isn't just for marriage. It's really about honoring all relationships. So that includes your co-parent, that relationship with your co-parent. It includes your relationship with your children and your stepchildren.
And your coworkers and your pastor and the boy who bags your groceries.
Yeah. So why is it important you came up with something brilliant when we were talking about this.
That was over the months I've been working on this. Thank you. I'm glad you wrote that down because
you don't remember your brilliance?
Not that long ago. No, there's been so much more since then that it is just
let me read what I wrote
overflowing.
Down. I was taking notes while you were talking. Like I was in school. Wow. It was so exciting. Why we should honor our relationships. You said because if you don't put value into the relationship, you won't get value out of the relationship.
I said that.
You did.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you reap what you sow.
I said that too.
Yeah. So explain to everyone more about that. I love this idea of value. If you want value out of it, and your co-parenting relationship has value, you're raising up a child with someone. You're equally responsible financially, emotionally, physically, all the ways for this child. So there's value in having a co-parent, whether you like them or not, right?
Well, and I think a lot of us put an emphasis on the co-parenting. I'm just going to categorize a lot of us because we don't like the other co-parent that we are dealing with. We don't like the other parent. We don't like the other family, and it's a stigma, you know, the ex-husband or the ex-wife or the step-parent in the other family, you know.
Which I just, before you move on, I want to normalize that.
This
is why you're not married, right? You don't like them.
Right.
So stop being so hung up on not liking your ex.
Well, I think what happens, I think what happens is we focus too much on that. We focus on the negatives. We focus on what they did to us. We focus on the past.
Or what they keep doing, like their personality is still annoying.
We have deep-rooted feelings.
Oh, dear God.
we let the past and the present really just hinder the way that we think about them. And we take all those negative thoughts, and that's what consumes our thoughts about.
It feeds our soul.
This sounds very earthly, like the coexist, like earthly speech, but that's not at all what this is. I think if we start to shift our thoughts around in this situation, the children and what the kids get out of this and what the kids get from the other family, and good or bad, as long as these kids are in a loving, caring home of any sort. It might not look the same way ours does, but that other home still probably loves and cares in their own way. They have lessons in their own way. And if we are able to find value in that, and we see some type of value, and again, it might not be the value that we like, you know, it might not look the same way our household looks, and
it probably doesn't.
Probably doesn't.
Not together for a reason. Again.
Mm-hmm. But if we can start putting value in other things like that, if we can find the silver lining, if you will, of the other household and the other relationship, and not our personal relationship with them, but the relationship of this co-parenting and the relationship that our children have with them.
Right. And the value that they bring to our children's lives.
Yeah.
Like the fact that they are the mom or the dad by title is value.
Well, and here's the other way of looking at it too. There's a good chance that you are a step-parent in your household right now. If you're in a blended family, well, you might absolutely dislike the step-parent in the other household. You might
we know nothing about this.
we might completely dislike stepmom in the other household because
stepmom really hates bio mom.
Yeah, you know what I mean? We might, but there's a good chance that you are that same role in your household that you are hating on the other household. And think of the pettiness that we put on that sometimes. I know I used to quite a bit, you know. I used to, again, it's the stigma of the stepdad in the other house and who he is as a person and what he does. Well, at the end of the day, my kid is finding some type of value in him, whether it's
what not to do,
what not to do, or how not to be,
or what to do. Like this skill that my stepdad has,
that's it,
is a trade that's really providing for a family. So
yeah,
that's a good
and there's
thing.
Things that my son has learned in the other household from his stepfather that is valuable. You know, good, bad, likewise, and you know. It doesn't matter. My kid has learned good and bad there, you know?
As in all households. Like also, before we get like any feedback on that, every household has good and bad.
100%.
Like there's no perfect household.
No.
Also,
ours definitely has its quirks and its bads and our differences.
You know, this is really interesting that you're talking about this, and I haven't shared this with you, so this is new.
Okay.
But we're talking about the step parent thing. We were at my son got a state diploma from FFA.
Right.
And we were at his award ceremony where he got his state diploma.
Mm-hmm.
And, my ex is there and his new wife. Mm-hmm. Well, she's not new.
Yeah, not new at all. This
not
is like
new
going
at all.
on a decade now.
His wife is there, and it really kind of broke my heart. And it made me, like, you know how I feel about everything. Okay. But there was part of this ceremony where there was a part, it happened twice, where they were honoring the parents in the audience. The FFA team on stage was honoring the parents.
And they asked the parents
or
guardians of the children to stand up.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
She did not.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that. Oh, well, I mean, I guess I didn't look over. I don't, yeah.
And,
really?
neither
You're a
time.
And a guardian.
Well, it really broke my heart. And I don't know if it was just out of respect because I was there and she was trying to just not call. I don't know what it was. But you stood up. My ex, my son's dad, stood up. I stood up. And all the other parents. And she sat down, and it just, I wanted to text her in that moment. We don't have that kind of relationship. But or even afterwards, I was like, man, I wish I could just text her and be like, you know what? My feelings about you don't even matter. Like you've helped my son get to you've helped.
She's been a part of this.
She's been a part of this journey. She's helped him come this far, and it really just, it made me sad that she, for whatever reason, didn't feel like she could or wanted to. I don't know why she didn't. Maybe she's got her own reasons, I'm sure, but I just felt like
maybe she has a bad hip.
No, I doubt it. I mean, she should have stood up. So if she ever listens to this, I wish you would have stood up, because I feel like
you should text her some Eminem, some Slim Shady lyrics.
Oh my gosh, please stand up. But I just was thinking, like, she has such value, like, regardless in that moment to this point. And I was thinking, my son's raised in her house with my ex half the time. Right. She's actually very involved in the FFA.
And your kids' lives.
And my kids' lives. Yeah. And so she is equally deserving as you are to stand up for Cole.
100%. Yeah.
Same with Dad and me. So I guess as the bio mom, whom I'm speaking to other bios out there who maybe have hard time with the step parent, the other, I guess I'm just like, can you look beyond yourself and see the value that they pour into your children's lives? And can you appreciate that? And I just in that moment,
it's one of those relationships too, like we were talking about, like where our kids have value in it in a way that they actually get value out of it, a way that we might not see some value in it as parents or on the other side. But at the end of the day, the kids are getting stuff out of it. She is a big part of your of your kids' lives. She is a present step parent.
And she's done so much for him in school and in FFA that he's been afforded opportunities simply because she's in his life. And it just kind of made me sad in that moment. Like, it maybe had nothing to do with me. Maybe I'm giving myself way too much credit. But I was kind of like.
But at the end of the day, yeah.
Yeah, I wish you
had this conversation with him before and asked him? I mean, I think he knows that there's value in their relationship, but have you validated that with him? I know we try to do that with our kids, all of them.
I do.
We try to validate the other households, even, when they're being little brat holes about something. And we're like, hey, look at this, look at it this way, and look at this. And we always try to encourage the relationship with the other household. Yeah.
I have this conversation often. Like I go through my daughter's phone. She's 11, going to be 12 soon. So I feel like good parent, not good, no judgment, but I'm a parent and we go through our children's phones. Right. We make sure everything's on the up and up. And I like to let them know that it's not done behind their back.
You let them know.
Give me your phone. Time for a check-in.
Do you do it just straight up like that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Out of the blue. I'm like, I'd like to see your phone now.
You don't do that to me. What? You're going to start doing that? Let's start doing that to one another.
Okay, you can
we'll just
see my
check
phone.
in.
You can check my phone.
I'm just kidding. It would take
You'd
so
be
much
bored.
time. I know. That's I'm like.
You'd be like all these girls. You're all, okay, take it back.
Dang, how many girls do you have in your life?
A lot.
Dang.
But what I'm saying is that, so I talk to the kids often, and the last time I actually did this was the other day because I had seen that her stepmom had texted her.
Okay.
And I was just, it made me think like she text her. I don't know, whatever. My daughter's stepmom texted her, and it was sweet. And then my daughter was saying that they went shopping together one day, just them two.
Oh, nice. Where'd they go?
The Levi's outlet.
Oh, it was like clothes shopping.
Yeah.
Nice.
And she got a pair of jeans and like 3 tops.
And then
she's been wearing those jeans. They came like that.
Oh, okay.
And she's been wearing them though every day.
She loves them.
She loves them.
Their look, their style.
But I also remind her in that moment, that I always say how grateful I am that she has a stepmom who does these things with her and checks in with her, and that, I also say I hope that you have a good relationship with her. Like I let my children know that you can never have too much love in your life. And so, my kids have seen me struggle with all the relationships in my life, and, I'm not a perfect person, but I always try to let them know that regardless of me or my feelings or my opinions, like, you have to form your own, and you should love and be loved. And if you're experiencing that, don't let anyone's opinions like take that away from you. Enjoy the good relationships you have in your life. And so I do talk about that with the kids often because, my ex and I are like oil and fire.
Right.
And I have a lot of hard feelings about his wife. And vice versa, and them about me. It's not one-sided.
Well,
it's
you guys
mutual.
didn't meet after the divorce. You guys had a history and a past and pretty dark past prior to everything happening. So there are
a lot of hard feelings.
Deep-rooted feelings.
There are deep-rooted issues. But I think that, when we're talking about honoring relationships, I need to honor the relationship my children have with their stepmom.
Right.
I need to honor the relationship my children have with their father. My goodness, what an important relationship that is. Dads are so important. And if I didn't have a present father. So like in my day-to-day life, I saw him holidays and summer. But so for my kids to be able to have that, I definitely, want to honor that. So, it's looking beyond your own nose, beyond yourself, and honoring the relationships because it's important for everyone's well-being, for your kids,
and
for
promoting
yourself.
Healthy relationships, what that looks like, and acknowledging what that looks like, because there's times, especially in our kids' lives, that they'll go through in their, you see it mostly in their teenage years up.
Starting at 10.
But you start to see, kind of.
It's
That's
horrible.
when we really start to see. You start to see these negative relationships and these negative effects in the way that they're treating one another. And, I just got a text from my son this morning about a negative relationship issue he's having with one of his friends. And basically my advice to him with this was don't buy into it. Like, don't be a part of it. It doesn't, if someone wants to talk about you or have ill feelings about you, and especially if it's not righteous, if it's not rightfully deserved and it's just gossip, don't buy into it. Don't give it any credence, move on. And if your friend has an issue or has something to say about you, then they'll say it. And if they're going to talk about you behind your back, then just keep on going, keep on moving, but don't let stuff like this bring you down. And I think that is a life lesson that us as parents and adults really can take value in. It's something that we should learn at a young age.
Yeah.
But as we get older, especially in the social media era, if someone has something that you don't like or is doing something you don't like or saying or posting something you don't like, doesn't mean that we have to go after them, that we have to tear them down or give them our opinion or,
or
having
text
say in
people
it or text that, whatever it may be. It's really just so much easier and so much better for us as humans just to let it roll off and keep on moving and look at the blessings around you. Look at, the positive relationships around you and put your time and your thoughts and your energy into them. So
Yeah, it's really, really good advice.
Yeah, it was just kind
And
of.
you model that. I mean,
Yeah,
you don't only
it's-
just give it that advice, you live that out.
Oh, me personally?
Yeah.
I try to.
You do
Sometimes
very good at that.
it's a very hard place to be, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't like to have issues with people and keep friends around that are like that. And I'm not quick to cut friends off, but and I haven't really had many friends like that. But in the past, if I
think you
do
just
have,
back away.
yeah, I
Like,
just
you don't
kind of,
I break up with people.
yeah,
You
and
just
I'm
back
just kind of
away.
like, well, you know what? Maybe here's the thing: is maybe they're just going through a season, maybe they're going through a time, and they're just unhappy with what they have going and what they have doing. I know I'm not a perfect person, and I probably have done things that I'm not even aware of in my past. That's like, wow, like I probably shouldn't have handled something that way or done something, or been joking about something and made a joke that offended someone, and I had zero intentions of offending someone or hurting someone's feelings, but maybe I did, and I didn't know that, and they've backed away from me, and I just didn't know that. But breaking up with people like you do, or I guess you just go for the full-fledged divorce.
Yes. I've only done that once.
Divorce someone?
Yeah. I was left my first marriage.
Yeah.
And then I did leave my second marriage.
Yes.
And the third one is TBD. I'm just kidding.
Look at that smile on her face, you guys. We're gonna zoom in on her face there.
But I really want to talk about, no, I'm not. But I want to go back to like the why, about why it's so important to honor our relationships. And so I think you're right. Value. And I think about it's protecting well-being, not only of yourself, but the well-being of the children involved, the well-being of people. Because the truth is, in a blended family, you're forced into a lot of relationships you wouldn't have chosen for yourself.
Oh yeah, and our kids are
on your own.
100% in that. They're worse off than we are.
Yeah. And so what do you do when you're in relationship? So this is a helpful tip. If you're in relationship with people that you wouldn't have chosen for yourself, and I think this is a lot with the step-parenting, stepchild dynamic, definitely the co-parenting with the new wife or the new husband. In-laws, sometimes people, I'm lucky, I love my in-laws, but a lot of people don't have a hard time with that. Right. Or their in-laws don't accept the new spouse. We've seen a lot of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of movies based off that.
Yeah.
Right, Falker?
You've watched them all.
I can't even make jokes. We had a listener that doesn't like our jokes. They fall flat
our
and take away.
Jokes?
Probably mine.
But
I mean, what's a show without any type of comedy?
Well, people don't have to listen.
That's what I'm saying.
But I think that what we need to do is, that's true that we have relationships that we wouldn't have chosen for ourselves. That is blended family life. But what I will say is that if you can focus instead on the common goals that you do share. So, if you're in a family, the common goal is for the family to succeed. The common goal is for the family's well-being. If you are a co-parent, the common goal is to raise these children up in the way they should be raised. And a lot of times you will find that you're more on the same side of life than not. We had one or two things that are the thorns in our side that make it really impossible, but if you really seemingly impossible. But what I want to say is honoring relationships really means like figuring out what you're on the same side of, right? And focusing on your common goals or your common interests and realizing that you can be enemies in that, but you're not going to get anywhere. Everyone's going to suffer. It's going to be harder to navigate, and it's just a shit show at that point.
Yeah, I realized at the beginning of all of this blended family thing starting to happen, when we weren't even like real families yet,
we were fake families.
No, I mean, we were dating, the other, and not even us so much. The other household was dating, and having issue with the other step parent. Well, it wasn't step parent yet at the time, but the other male role model in my child's life, and not giving any type of gratitude to the role that he was in, or being real hesitant. And a lot of times finding ourselves or myself making an issue of it with my child, and not even allowing that relationship to start or happen. And I found this happening at the very beginning of this relationship. And it went on for a little while, but after probably a few months to a year, I think I really kind of reeled it in. Once they actually started becoming a family, it was like, whoa, I need to kind of put this in check. Otherwise, what I'm going to do is create an unhealthy relationship that happens there, which also carries over into our house. And it's something that I really had to pray about and put a lot of time into and a lot of effort into, because when we don't like the other side or someone else, and that impacts our kids negatively, well, that impacts their relationship in the other house. And it creates a real negative environment that is hard, I think, for the children, probably more than us. If we can't honor and respect a relationship that's happening, and we automatically just put a stigma on this, think how hard it is for the kids to have to live in a household like that, where they feel stuck and they feel in between. So,
they feel like it's not okay to like or love their step parent because you poison the waters.
That's it. And maybe they do, but when they come to our house, they have to pretend like they don't. So they have to talk about it negatively in the other house, and they have to cause problems and all the things. But what it really does is it teaches our kids to be manipulative and lie and have a hard time, and I think that's something that we realized very early on in our relationship, is that if we honor the other family, we honor the other relationships, that our kids have a lot easier time with it. Our kids have a lot easier time opening up to us about the other relationships, the good, the bad, the in-between, the whatever, and they can be honest, they can be comfortable about it. But when you are always talking down on the other family and the other household, our kids feel like that's the only way to represent that in the house. Otherwise, they're going to be in trouble, or it forces them to choose sides almost, and that's not necessarily a healthy relationship for them.
Yeah. Yep. And so what I'm hearing you say too, so tell me if I'm trying to surmise, but basically you have to set yourself aside.
100%.
Like, to honor a relationship, you kind of have to because it's for the greater good.
Yeah.
Beyond just you. And not that you're not important, but when you have relationships, because you're in this blended family, I mean, you do have a choice. You can blow the shit up, right? You can leave, you can be mean, you can be nasty, you can wear your sandwich board.
You have a sandwich board?
Yeah, and ring your bell.
Nothing but a sandwich board.
Yep. I mean, you can choose to be upset about things that you can't change. You can't make a step parent or the other bio parent fall off the face of the earth. You can't, you can't say your stepchild's not going to be in your life, but your husband or wife is. You're not going to turn your back on your own kids. You can't. I mean, there's just so much that is an impossibility. And so, yes, you can choose to fight all that. That is a choice. And that's a very exhausting, draining, upsetting way to live. Or you can look beyond your emotions and try to see the greater good, the common goal, being on the same side. And
I think a lot of people, including myself at the beginning, had a really, really hard time doing that. And a lot of it is because of situation and where we are in life. And I think that is something that is awesome that you do with people, you do with your clients, with your life coaching on stuff like this, is helping people figure out who they are and what their surrounding is and what their reality is, and bettering themselves for situations like this, because there's a lot of us that can't get through that and can't get over that. And I feel like if someone finds themselves, if it's you and you find yourself stuck in a place like this where you're like, there's zero chances and zero possibilities I could ever honor the other household or the other family, especially after what he has done to me or what she has done to me, that can be changed, right? Like, you're able to help people figure out how to change that, even though you can't feel it now, right? In your heart, you're like, there's zero chances, right?
Yeah. I mean, that is what life coaching is. It's figuring out who you want to be and then having you show up as that person, We oftentimes know who we want to be, or we have an ideal, right? Like, I want to be generous, and I want to be filled with grace, and I want to be grateful every day, and I want to be strong, and I want to be confident, and I want to have peace.
But I'm none of that
But
now.
I'm showing up in chaos and anxiety and stressed out, and I'm exhausted. And so there's a gap between who you want to be and who you're showing up as. And so what I do in coaching, which is really beautiful, is we close that gap so that you're showing up as who you want to be. And then there's not really stress and anxiety or disappointment around that. And there's confidence there. Like, everyone else can pound sand, right? At that point, you're like, I'm being the best version of myself.
Right, which is so neat, too, because not only being the best version of yourself makes you feel better about all of that, but it also starts that incline, that climb to the top of the mountain starts to happen a lot quicker. That confidence, that strength allows you to climb quicker and become who you want to be, and
you're more equipped.
Yeah, you conquer greatness better. You feel better about everything every day.
That's right.
And it's neat to watch your clients come out of this, and people that you have coached, and how many of them just keep signing back up, where they're like,
I just had someone last week re-sign for another 3-month program. So I work with people in either a 3-month program or a 6-month program, depending on. And
then they re-up, and they're like, let's keep doing this because they love
we have momentum.
They love where it's taking them.
They don't want to lose that. Yeah. So if you guys are interested, I am, for now, offering free breakthrough sessions. My schedule is filling up, so you might have to book a couple weeks out. But email me at becomingheardnow@gmail.com if you are interested, or get a hold of us on social media somehow, and drop us our email address, and I'll be happy to send you a link to book a free session with me, and I'll give you more information. It's a really cool thing. I'm honored to do this. Yeah.
becomingheardnow@gmail.com. I was here like, becomingheardnow on aisle 3 at gmail.com.
Don't say aisle 3. Somebody's going to email aisle 3.
Aisle 3.
No, don't. But let's talk about now how. We did the what and the why, but how are we going to honor these motherfuckers?
Wow. That was
I just had
very
to throw
Will
that
Smith
in there.
of you.
I
just
know.
Come
just
up here and
slap you in the face.
Slap me in the face with that.
What do you think about the Will Smith thing?
I don't even care. I really don't even care. It doesn't change my opinion.
Do you like Chris Rock?
I like them both. It didn't change my thoughts or my opinion
on either person.
No, but at the end of the day, I don't love them all enough to care, and I don't dislike them enough not to care.
Did you ever watch it on social media?
What?
The slap heard across around the world?
I don't think you had a choice. You had to watch. Like, I didn't look for this stuff, and I don't watch that type of stuff, and I had to watch it like 10,000 times because everyone has incorporated it, including this podcast now.
Yes. Well, here's my question about this. I had a point to bringing it up, which I didn't know I was going to bring it up till now, but now that I have. Do you think that Will Smith was honoring his wife by going up on stage and slapping Chris Rock for making fun of her medical condition?
I think that was the excuse for it. I also like going like total conspiracy theory. I think that I can't even tell you what award ceremony it was because
the Oscars. Oh, only the biggest award ceremony ever.
And being in like film and production.
He can't go back to the Oscars for like 10 years now.
I'm like, cool. I won't go with you. Like, let's stay here. I really don't care.
But do you think that was like, so you don't think that he was honoring his wife by going on stage and slapping Chris Rock?
No, I mean,
he definitely wasn't honoring Chris Rock.
It's pumping your chest and being like, yeah, we're going to go fight because of but also it's like, I'm the deep conspiracy of me too is like, what'd you say? The Oscars?
It was the Oscars.
Okay. I think that.
Which ratings have been low lately. Is this where you're going?
Like awfully low.
Awful.
Like ridiculous. And I know that only because of social media. It hasn't changed because of me because I've never watched it. Maybe when I was like 6 or 7 and, you know, and like.
I used to love to watch the Oscars. I would have like my girlfriends over and we'd have like a huge like party. It was like Super Bowl for girls.
No, I never got into that.
Was like in my 20s.
my thought is maybe their ratings are so low that they had to set something like this up, and Will Smith kind of took one for the team because he didn't want to be at the Oscars anyway. So he's like, you guys kick me out. I'll go up there and slap him, and we're going to get these ratings back up. And maybe he's like, executive producer. He's one of the production and he's making money. You never know. Like maybe this was like a stunt. Hollywood is so full of so much garbage. I mean, great and good, but so much garbage that it's all acting. You can't believe anything. So I'm like, I don't know. Like maybe it was just a big stunt just to shine some spotlight on them because they are so freaking desperate. Like, I don't know. People are desperate.
Well, it was interesting because Chris Rock, I had read this, that he had said he won't talk about it until he gets paid to talk about it.
Right. I heard that too. And then also his brother wants to now fight.
We talk about all our shit for free and don't get paid.
And now Chris Rock his brother now wants to fight Will Smith.
What?
And then someone suggested maybe you guys do it as a charity, like a celebrity boxing match or something.
Oh, this is going crazy. I haven't heard any of that.
This is exactly why I don't a
lot for somebody who doesn't know a lot.
It's social media. It's a little bit of news. But it's everywhere.
Funny.
It's this podcast now, which is just total. If you guys just unsubscribe now because of this garbage, I'm all right with that.
No, I'm staying on topic of honoring your spouse because a lot of people think that that's like a thing. Like he was honoring Jada by going up there and defending her honor by slapping Chris Rock. And I'm just wondering, in blended families, there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of heated emotions.
Are they in a blended family?
No, but I'm saying in our situation, how many times has a spouse wanted to go deck the ex to defend? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
is that honoring, defending their honor?
I can feel that. Well, I mean, maybe defending their honor, but also sometimes too, they just make you so angry that you just want to go do it selfishly
for
also.
Funsies?
Just for funsies, which is why I never got into this because the fun never ends.
Yeah, so. No, you couldn't. But I don't know. I guess I was just wondering from a man's point of view, would that be like defending honor?
I mean, it depends. Does she see it that way? I guess at the end of the day, if you're doing it to honor your wife, honor is in the eye of the beholder. Honor is subjective.
Put that on a mother effing pillow and let's put it on our bed.
It's got to be made out of something that doesn't get ruined with tears.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be a cry pillow for sure.
Honor is in the eye of the beholder.
I'm going to put it on the back of my underwear. Inside.
Isn't my name on the back of your underwear?
Inside.
Okay. Well, I'm just curious because I know that defending honor is something that comes up a lot in marriages. But let's move on from this, I guess. How do we honor our relationships? One thing I want to talk about, marriage we'll get to, but when we're talking about honoring hard people, remember how we were talking about we're forced in relationships that we wouldn't choose for ourselves in blended families, right? And our kids are everyone, you have at least one relationship that you married into that
you probably have all been
or regular families
to
too.
This. What about your uncle, and you're like, dude, I do not want this to be my uncle or Santa Claus. Some of us got into a relationship with Santa Claus at a young age and it was not one that we wanted.
Okay. So what do you do in that situation? Well, here's what I want to tell you. If you can't honor the person, honor the role. So if you can't honor the person because they're horrible in your eyes and they're evil and they're crazy. If I have to hear the word crazy one more time,
you're going to go crazy?
I'm going to go crazy. But if you can't honor the person, honor the role. And
if they're super fat, honor all their roles.
Okay. So I think that's helpful though, right? Because you can look past this person and you can see the role they're playing in your life, really your children's lives. Okay. This is what the lady was talking about.
It wasn't even a lady.
It was a dude?
It could have been a dude that used to be a lady that's now a dude and doesn't identify as.
Anyway. So that's it. And that's part of looking at the great. This is part of looking at the bigger picture. So if you can't honor the person, honor the role they're playing in your life and respect accordingly. In your marriage, I think we forget that a huge part of honoring our spouse is knowing who you're honoring. I think we get married sometimes and you feel like there's nothing more to learn. You know absolutely everything there is to know about your spouse. Well, do you know how to turn them on? Do you know how they take their coffee? Do you know why they need to go on vacation? Do you know what they do at their job during the week when they're not from home? Do you know their routines? Do you know their desires? Do you know their 5-year goals? Do you know that people sometimes grow in and out of liking things? So maybe they used to like tomatoes and now they don't like tomatoes. Do you know your spouse? You cannot honor someone that you don't know. And so
you just checked all those boxes and then unchecked all those boxes.
I did.
Yeah, 100%.
I understand what you're saying.
Exactly. You don't even know me.
I don't even know you. But I'm just saying is that when your spouse, I think with your spouse, especially someone you're intimately choosing to be in a relationship with, it's the process of always trying to get to know them, asking questions, being curious, never assuming that you have it all figured out. Because we change, who I was at 20 is different than 40. And when I'm 60 and 80, it might look different too. What? You're different.
Yeah.
I think a big part of honoring someone is bringing appreciation and gratitude. I think you talked about this earlier on, to the relationship. What can you appreciate about this relationship? What can you be grateful for? And how can I see this relationship through that lens of appreciation and gratitude versus, just the negativity that tends to come, right?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Time, practice, patience.
Yeah. This is something that I've been telling clients lately. It's like what you practice is what you become. So you can't possibly just want something. You actually have to put things into practice, and then you will become it.
I'm going to become a dolphin.
Do you practice being a dolphin? I don't know this about you. See, I'm learning something new every day.
I'm changing. I'm different who I was at 10 years old than who I am at 12 years old.
I think it's important to always be a safe space for people that you're in relationship with. And what that means is, like, can you be open-minded that there's more than one way? And this is really hard in co-parenting because it's like we have one way to do it and it's my way. But can you be open-minded that maybe there's a different way? And can you accept that maybe a different way opens up space for compromise? So you both get what you want and you both win. And I think that creating space for differences really pays off in the end and honors the relationship.
Or just giving space to let that difference just be different. Yeah, and just not putting so much time and thought and energy into it, especially when stuff like that doesn't even affect you other than mentally. Like if the only thing going on is like you're just thinking about it, but it's something that goes on at the other household, and at the end of the day, it doesn't negatively affect your kid or it doesn't hurt your kid or something's being said over there. If you just stop talking about this and stop thinking about this, will it still affect you? And if the answer is no, then just leave it alone. Give it away,
Give it away?
Yeah. Just
give it away now?
Give them some Red Hot Chili Peppers lyrics and give it away.
I think acceptance is a really big part of honoring relationships, accepting that which you cannot change or you're powerless to change. Acceptance frees you. It doesn't let the other person necessarily off the hook, but what acceptance does, kind of like forgiveness, it frees you from being bothered by it. It frees you from upset and frustration because you're powerless to change other people. And so if someone else wants to go sit in pig shit, you do not have to join them. You can accept that that's what they're going to go do. There's nothing you can really do about it, and you can choose to not join them.
What if you want to join them?
Then that's your choice as well.
So you're saying I have a choice.
You have all the choices. Honoring relationships means also getting facts. How often do we operate out of hearsay? I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, most of what we know about everyone in our lives is hearsay. Unless we experience, even with our children, unless we were there at school with them and experienced what they experienced firsthand, everything we hear about people is hearsay. Everything we know about people that we didn't, even our spouses, like how much of our days do we spend actually
It depends
together?
on the day. My biggest thing I hate about fax is like when you think it's actually a phone number and you dial the fax number instead, and then you just get that dial tone. You're like, I'm not sure. Anyways, that's what I hate the most about fax.
Fax, yeah. So I think it's important that you get the facts first before you start making judgments or forming opinions. Like, you really need to know what's the truth and let that inform how you behave, react, or make a choice from there. But I think so oftentimes we operate out of hearsay, even when our kids are talking about the other parent, right? Kids come home upset with the other house or annoyed that dad didn't give me what I wanted, and so now I'm going to go, talk shit about dad or whatever it is. And I think it's like we have to stop with buying into all this hearsay and taking that as fact and doing a little bit of our own research and to honor the relationship.
Or just letting it become drama just because you only know part of the facts and it's negatively affecting someone around you, buying into that and continuing it to grow and go on when, like you said, it is hearsay. And now you're buying into this hearsay.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not even like truthful facts, especially when it's coming from our kids. You're like, wait,
what do you know about life?
That's not actually the way that it went down after talking with your mom or your dad.
Right. Especially when all the kids only hear partial conversations from 3 rooms away or whatever, or they hear one side of a conversation on a telephone and have no idea the total context of what it was taking place in.
Right.
And I think we do this with our spouse too. We fill our heads with all kinds of assumptions about our spouses without actually stopping to get facts about what's actually going on. We are driving the car off the cliff and we've already decided all these things are bad and wrong and negative, and then we get all
Have
upset.
you noticed a lot of that type of thinking and those negative thoughts and the twisting of information within your own mind usually only happens when you're not around the other person? It's when you're not in relationship and you're not communicating and you're not talking it through. Usually these type of assumptions happen after the fact when we're thinking it up in our own minds and we're not actually talking it through and having a meaningful conversation. It usually happens when we are further away.
Yep. And this is actually exactly what I work on with clients session 2 and 3. We talk about this very thing and it's super powerful. It's one of my favorite things to discuss. I think honoring relationships means being mindful of resources, whether you're co-parenting and there's, financial resources, maybe there's, time resources because of work or emotion. Like I think that we forget that we need to be mindful of everyone's resources, their time, their money, their energy,
There's nothing more frustrating than someone that's in a toxic co-parenting relationship and they are extremely mindful of that stuff. So they use it to hurt the other family.
What do you mean?
Their time, their resources, their money. There's people that'll sabotage the other household in order to...
I guess I'm just trying to find a specific example. I'm trying to understand.
Not a specific example, but, if you
make one up.
You're putting me on the spot here.
I'm trying to understand.
If you know that the other household is going on vacation and time is of the essence and it's going to be hard to coordinate things, so... You
take your sweet time.
You take your sweet time and you drag your feet, or I don't know. There's lots of ways that people can manipulate situations and hurt the other family intentionally, being hyper aware of what their situation is or what things look like, knowing that they're going for family photos. Here's a good one. They're going for family photos and they're tight on time and they've got to be somewhere, and you just are being the sweetest person in the world, by letting them have some of your time so they can go have those
That's right.
family
I
photos
am.
taken.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
they asked you,
Sounds like me.
and you are just, you don't want to cause problems, but it's your time. So what you do is before they're going out to family photos, because they're going to pick up little Johnny on the way there, you let little Johnny go out back and play in the mud in his old dirty clothes. And then when mom or dad comes to pick him up, little Johnny goes and gets in the car like that. Just
and then they're on their way
and they're on their way
to
to family
Oh,
photos.
that's horrible.
This is what I mean. Like, you're being hyper aware of the situation, you know, but you completely manipulate and sabotage that situation. And I have seen that happen. I've seen that happen so many times in so many places. And I'm like, man, if people just took the time to honor that relationship and
honor the other person's
and
resources.
honor the freaking child, because now the child gets in that car
and is in trouble.
And
Yes.
they are in a rush situation, and that other whole family's upset and unhappy, and then you're sitting back, mom's sitting back going, I just screwed that all up.
How, like, people do this?
Unfortunately.
Okay. Well, I think that goes along with respect. I mean, there has to be respect in any relationship. With respect without honor, or honor without respect, is kind of like you can't have one without the other.
Right.
So I think respect, and, you know, I want to talk about boundaries here, because I think you can't honor relationships, one without putting boundaries in place. Boundaries protect relationships. And I've spoken on this before, but boundaries get a really bad rap, you know, because people think boundaries are used to punish people, or boundaries are used in, I guess, just a punishing way. But really, boundaries protect relationships. You need to put boundaries in place to make sure that you don't sabotage a relationship. Meaning, if someone's really challenging for you, you might put a boundary in place that we're just going to communicate via email and text, because if we talk on the phone, we fight. But email and text, you know, and you realize by doing that protects. How about the boundary
that I think is very common, that, you know what, if we communicate, it's going to be about the kids. It's always going to be on topic.
It's a
We're
great
not going
boundary.
Off topic. And I think that's a very common.
Your opinions of me and my life?
Yeah.
Don't
or what
care.
I'm doing. And
you know,
that's a hard one for people to
how
learn.
my marriage is going?
Yeah.
I've dealt with that before. Like,
you have?
Well, I mean.
Yeah. It's just one of those things that once you learn to keep it on topic, it actually helps navigate real easily, and it helps really steer that boat.
Yeah, and it protects that co-parenting relationship,
right.
Because now you're not getting into unnecessary hatred or wars, or, you know, you're not having battles that don't need to have. And so I think that we need to relook at how we think. We need to relook at boundaries differently. So I think that honoring relationships is, one, putting boundaries in place to protect that relationship and also protect yourself. But once boundaries are in place, you can honor relationships by respecting boundaries. And so don't get pissed off if your ex puts a boundary in place, or don't feel guilty if you need to put a boundary in place. It's really, if you can look at it as both, you know, your ex and you are putting these in place to protect relationship. Especially, you know, I mean, imagine a marriage without boundaries, you know, open marriage, people call it.
You watch that kind of stuff on TV.
It's interesting because it's a shit show. That's why it's on TV. It's entertainment. But I think that even marriages, right? You have boundaries. Come home at night. Wear your wedding ring. Don't cheat. Don't pick up an addiction.
Flush after you poop.
Yeah, I think there are certain boundaries that protect your marriage. And so you definitely have boundaries with your kids to protect them. You know, they can't watch certain things or listen to certain things or say certain things or do certain things because you want to protect them and keep them safe. So boundaries are a huge part of honoring your relationships. Affirming. Affirm.
Did you just go through like the love languages and write?
No.
Just kidding.
I made this all on my very own.
Did you?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I was thinking about affirming, though. I think that you need, because we're really quick to point out the bad. It's very easy.
That's what I was saying at the beginning of this.
Tell
like
people,
it's easy to focus on that, but
and to verbalize that. Like, it's easy to attack the other person or point out this is where my co-parenting relationship goes bad. Telling each other what we're doing wrong or what we're doing bad, or accusing each other and attacking. It's like, what about affirming that the other person is doing a lot right.
Which you also
would
do.
get a
Like, you're
lot
very good
farther.
at doing that.
But I used to fall into the trap of like, if that came my way,
In the 10,000 page email?
I'd like, oh, you want to go, motherfucker? Let's go,
come
right?
on.
Sorry.
That's
But like, that was
gross.
my attitude early on. Like, you want to go? We can go.
Where are you
Let's
going to
go.
go? You
Let's
guys already
have this
went, got
conversation.
married, and then got divorced.
I don't know. There's new lows, I'm sure,
Yeah.
to go. But so I think that in any relationship that you are in, if you have a difficult relationship with your stepchild, what can you affirm about your stepchild? That's really helpful. It's something I work with my clients often on. You know, what good is there? Not anyone's all evil. So what can you affirm about them? That gets you a lot farther. Especially in your spouse, you should be doing this anyway.
Well, when you start doing that too, you start looking for the good, and it starts putting you in a direction that is only going to
It changes your mindset.
better things. It changes your mindset, because if you're only looking for the bad things, that also changes your mindset.
Yeah, that's what you see. It's what you find.
It's a dark rabbit hole.
Yep. So affirming is really, really important, and that kind of goes along with what can you appreciate. And it's great to appreciate it, but you need to put it into action and do the affirming.
There's a great quote I once heard about something like this.
Oh, dear. What is it?
Don't hate, appreciate.
That's a great
quote.
quote.
You've heard that one?
Here's a really powerful one that people aren't going to like. What if you decided you were going to believe in the other person that you were honoring? Like, you're going to hold space to believe that they could do good, even if they're not doing good, even if with your difficult stepchild, with a difficult spouse, or a difficult ex, or a difficult child, whatever. What if you held space and actually believed in them? I mean, that stuff movies are made on, right? People's lives are changed just because they had one person who believed in them when no one else did, right?
Precious.
It's really, really, I know everyone's rolling their eyes and puking in a bag right now, but it's really powerful. So if you can hold the belief for somebody difficult in your life that they can do great things, that they can be a better person, that you can believe in them to be better than they are right now, I think that is a really powerful thing. And believing in your spouse is a really powerful thing. I'm really lucky that I have a spouse who believes in me, and that is a big, huge reason why I've been able to do what I've done thus far after losing a lot. I wouldn't have been able to do that without you, like, believing in me. And it wasn't.
Thanks. I do believe in you.
I know.
I mean, that's literally the reason that we're here, because it's not only that I believe in you, but you believe in yourself. And you used Becoming Heard coaching to believe in yourself.
Oh,
and here you are.
Well, it matters. So don't underestimate or undervalue the importance of believing in the other person. And man, if you even somebody who doesn't deserve it, it's so, so, so powerful. And you know, I think what I'm going to end on the flip side of that is avoid being critical. It's really easy. And I think we touched on this earlier, but it bears repeating. Like, criticism is okay, but if that's all the person's hearing, they're not going to receive it. They're just going to be mad and hate you.
Yeah, it pushes people away.
It breaks connection.
It breaks connection,
Yeah.
and it also, I think it tarnishes relationships. It creates some toxicity that people just don't want to be around. It really is not a good thing. So.
And it comes off like, and there's a time and a place for bringing up, you know, you can't be in a relationship with someone and have an honest relationship and not bring up stuff that needs to change.
Yeah,
like,
it's
obviously
just cookies and rainbows.
Rainbows. I have a rainbow. But I think that you need to check yourself that even your co-parent is not the enemy. You're on the same team as, you know, for these children. Your stepchild is not the enemy. They are part of your family. Your spouse is not the enemy. You married this person and committed your life to them. And it's very curious to me, and we all do this, that we treat the people in our lives, even our own children sometimes, our parents, like they're the enemy. And I just don't do that. You're not. It's not the truth, right?
Right.
Unless you married the enemy, And Sleeping with the Enemy, that's a movie. Go see
Dang,
how that turned
movies
out.
Are made.
Go
out
watch
of these
Sleeping with
things.
the Enemy and tell me how it turned out.
I don't think I've ever seen it. I know it's an old movie. 'Cause I've heard,
Julia Roberts.
yeah. It's weird. There's like maybe 20. You're saying Julia Roberts. I know who Julia Roberts is. I know
Thank
who.
goodness.
There's like 20 actors and actresses. Like I know who they are. And then you say it like another name. Like you know the name, but I'm like I can't put a face on this name if I had to. I do
Will
not.
Smith.
I do not. Well, yeah, everyone knows Will Smith. Like who doesn't? I know who Michael Jordan is. You know. You just look up, like you had to think about that. Do you guys know this?
Looney Tunes, right?
Michael Jordan, the outline of him is more recognizable than is the most recognized image in the world, like worldwide image.
I've
Did you know
never
that?
heard that.
Yeah,
How do you know this?
facts.
Where did you learn this from?
Facts. I called the number, sent me a fax, and this is what the fax said.
Okay. There you go. You've learned all you need to know right
That's
here
everything,
on
you
Blended
guys.
Life.
You have to go nowhere else now.
Well, that's it. Let's wrap it up. Thank you guys for joining us. I'd love to know how you honor your relationships. Comment below and let us know. And let's spread some good wisdom about constructive ways to honor relationships in your life.
I like it.
Yep.
All right, you guys.
Bye.
See you next time. Bye.